Welcome to our special edition of ChemVid. So if you're struggling with limiting reactants, I'm going to do a simpler example so that you can see kind of how it fits together. So instead of going from grams to pieces to moles type thing, it's just going to be pieces. And that way you get a better idea of limiting and excess reactants without all the extra math. Okay? So starting off, if I have 20 graham crackers, 100 pieces of chocolate, and 40 marshmallows, how many s'mores can be made? And how much excess reactant will be left over? So first I need to find my limiting reactant, because my limiting reactant controls the entire equation. So I'm going to start off with each one of my reactants, my graham crackers, my chocolate, and my marshmallows. And I'm going to find out how much product can be made. Now in this case we only have one product, s'mores, but in a lot of chemical reactions you have two products. So therefore you need to make sure you go to the same product, otherwise your ratio will be messed up. Because it's kind of like saying if I have graham crackers, chocolate, and marshmallows, I can make s'mores, but I could also make a very interesting sundae, okay? But I need different amounts of each for the s'more versus the sundae. And so I need to be able to compare the products with my limiting reactants. So I always need to go to the same product. Alright, so 20 graham crackers. For every 2 graham crackers, I can make 1 s'more. And I need 4 pieces of chocolate for 1 s'more. And I need 1 marshmallow for 1 s'more. Alright, 20 divided by 2, I can make 10 s'mores with 20 graham crackers. I can make 25 s'mores with 100 pieces of chocolate. And I can make 40 s'mores with 40 marshmallows. So in this case, my limiting reactant would be graham crackers. Why is the limiting reactant graham crackers? Because it makes the least amount of product. Therefore, it is limiting me from making any more product, and that's why it's called the limiting reactant. So this guy, graham crackers, is going to control everything I can do. It controls how much reactant is going to be used up. It's going to control how many products I can make, how much s'mores I can make. Limiting reactants are very important. Alright, and then our excess reactant, I guess I can do orange. Excess are chocolate and marshmallows. Why? Because I'm going to have chocolate and marshmallow left over. Since I can only make 10 s'mores with my graham crackers, that means I'm going to have chocolate and marshmallow left over. So I found my excess and I found my limiting. Now I want to know how much will be left over. Well, in this case, I can look at this and I know that I can make 25 s'mores total. However, I can't make 25 s'mores because graham crackers limit me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my first step that we talked about in the first video. And I'm going to go from products that can be made using the limiting reactant. And I'm going to go from s'mores to my excess, which is chocolate. And I know that for 1 s'more I need 4 chocolates, which means that I used 40 chocolates in order to make those 10 s'mores. So this is 40 chocolates used. I started off with 100 chocolates, so I'm going to do 100 chocolates, my initial, minus my used, 40 chocolates, and I know that I have 60 chocolates left over. This is how much remains. This is how much chocolate I have left over. Whereas if I did the same thing, only I did it with my marshmallows, I can start off with 10 s'mores. And I'm just going to do it down here instead. So I'm going to start off with 10 s'mores. I go from s'mores to marshmallows. That's a 1-to-1 ratio, so I know I used 10 marshmallows. That's how many were used to create my 10 s'mores. I do my 40 marshmallows that I initially had. minus the 10 marshmallows, and I get 30 marshmallows left over. So to answer this question, I can make 10 s'mores because I used up all my 20 graham crackers. I have 60 chocolate bars left over, and I have 30 marshmallows left over. So this way of calculating was using my first method, where I take the products that can be made from my limiting reactant, and I convert them into the excess reactant, and then I subtract initial minus used, and I get excess. My other method, however, is to go directly from my limiting reactant to my excess reactant. So I'm going to show you that. Alright, so our second method is to go from our limiting reactant directly to excess reactant. So instead of using 10 s'mores, I'm going to use 20 graham crackers. And I can use this 20 graham crackers because I know that I'm going to use up all of my graham crackers. So it's going to tell me how many marshmallows and how much chocolate I need in order to use up all of those graham crackers. So I start with graham crackers, and I go from graham crackers to my excess. I'm going to do chocolate first, just like last time. I need 4 chocolates for every 2 graham crackers, which means that I have 20 times 4 is 80, divided by 2 is 40. So I'm going to use 40 chocolates. And then I do my initial. I started off with 100 chocolates. I subtract by 40 chocolates. And I have 60 chocolates left over in excess. So if you notice, because we used a more direct translation, we used pieces instead of grams, our numbers actually matched our last one, which will happen when you're doing your chemical reactions. Okay? So your next one, I'm going to do marshmallows this time. I still start off with my limiting reactant because the limiting reactant tells me how much of the excess reactant I use. So I'm going to do 2 graham crackers for every 1 marshmallow. 20 divided by 2 is 10 marshmallows. Look at that. It's the same as my other way. And I'm going to take my initial, 40 marshmallows, minus the 10 marshmallows that were used, and that gives me 30 marshmallows in excess. Okay? So, whenever you're trying to get excess or how much is left over, how much do you need to use, what limits you, all of that good stuff, it's all based on the limiting reactant. It can be based on how much limiting reactant you have, like the 20 grams or 20 graham crackers, or it can be based off of the amount of product that you can make with your limiting reactant. Both will work and both have the same result. Okay? So if you need some more help with this, we need to practice. That's the first step, but also come and talk to me. I'd be happy to help you. And there's also a YouTube video that you can turn to for help as well. So if you go to YouTube and type in limiting reactant, these 2 videos can help you out. In this one, he walks through, it's kind of like an introduction like what I did. And in this one, he walks through an actual chemical practice problem. And that should help you out with the practice problem that I asked you to do for homework. So these 2 videos right here, I would definitely recommend. So to reiterate, if you need extra help, come talk with me. YouTube videos, you saw how to search for them on YouTube, and then of course here are the links that you can type in for the different practice problems or the introduction. And then of course, practice, practice, practice. The best way to get good at these conversions and being able to go from one product to another product to find extra moles, to find reactants, to find how much is left over, excess, used, all that good stuff, is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. All right, good luck.